Gallagher had a question regarding tax cuts.
Thank you, Congressman Guinta, for coming tonight. My question is about the so-called Bush tax cut.
Yep.
Do you know what the original term of that tax act was in 2001 and also in 2003?
I actually do not.
Okay.
I've heard Bush
Can
tax cut so many times, that's what I know it as.
Right, and that's the biggest deceptive thing. I don't, yeah, please take this. It was called EGTERRA, Economic Growth and Tax Relief Act. It didn't work in 2001. Then in 2003, it was called GenTerra, Jobs, Economic Growth and Tax Relief Act. The tax relief worked, but the job part and the economic part hasn't worked very well. So I'm not picking on you. You've been in 7 months, as you said. I would like you to look at that and realize what it is doing and it's not doing. And, you know, part of this discussion here is basically about that. You know, where do we go? If you run a household, you run a business, and you're starting to falter, you need to increase income. And that's my only point. I'm not picking on you.
No, I appreciate that.
At the time the bill was passed, it was a great bill. It came from Congress, not from George Bush. So if you read the history, and you'll learn a lot. Thank you.
Well, let me end, because we have, the library closes at 8 o'clock, excuse me, so we've got to get everyone out of here by 8. So let me close by answering your question and just make a couple of.
It wasn't a question.
Well, let me address your comment. We have 9.2% unemployment in this country. I think we're a little more fortunate in New Hampshire, where our unemployment rate is much lower. However, I don't think our economy is as strong in New Hampshire as it can be. But when you think about the national unemployment number of 9.2%, about 15 million people out of work. Think about if you could get half of those people back to work. Imagine the revenues we could generate to the federal treasury. And then we would be having a debate on what to do with those revenues. My focus, I think, should be on getting those people back to work, trying to put policies in place that are going to enhance and quicken that. So the question then becomes, how do we do that? I do not favor the approach that has been taken over the last couple of years with federal stimulus borrowed dollars. I don't think that that policy has worked. And the reason I say that is when you look at not just the unemployment number, but you look at the last 28 months, we've had unemployment of 8% or higher for 28 consecutive months. That's indisputable. The GDP numbers, I don't know how many people saw on Friday, probably not many people were aware because it was right in the heated moment of the debt ceiling debate, but the White House issued a revised GDP for the first quarter for our country. The revised number was 0.4 growth for Q1. Q2, and it came down from, I think, 1.9 down to 0.4. Q2 was, I believe, 1.3. Those are, when you think economically about where the direction, what the next quarter is going to be like, or the next 6 months, when you look at that first 6 months of our GDP, those are frightful numbers.
I think I read that the GDP is lower than the debt ceiling.
It's 14, GDP is 14.6 trillion.
So the debt ceiling's higher.
Now it is. Last week it wasn't. Today it is. So if you subscribe to the notion that we need to grow the economy in order to try to get ourselves back to balance, and I believe if you get those at least half of those people back to work, you are going to grow revenues. No question about it. So Washington, I think, needs to put policies in place, because I don't believe that Washington is a job creator. Washington does need to put policies in place that do 2 or 3 things. Number one, any small business owner, any job creator, and many people here know that New Hampshire relies, its economy is 75% driven by small business. We've got to protect small business owners, entrepreneurs, job creators, those who think and imagine and create those higher paying jobs. So we can have better opportunities right here in our backyard. The best way Washington can do that is give predictability, meaning get a tax code once and for all done that gives predictability to every taxpayer, business, corporate, or individual. Secondly, there are so many regulations that are impeding individuals and business owners. We've got to get a handle on it. At what point do we say enough from the government? Enough. We're going to be going through that. I think both sides of the aisle are going to try to address that come September going into next year. But then finally, we do have to let people know what our spending levels are going to be so you can have consumer confidence come back. And those companies that have about $1 trillion sitting in the bank, in their bank accounts, doing nothing but accruing interest, back into the economy. But until Washington gets its house in order and sends a real message of predictability and stability, it's not going to happen. Now, I would like to see that happen. I want to contribute to making that happen. Because what matters most, I think, to most people is, do I have a job? Can I provide for my family, for my wife, for my children? And can I have a better opportunity for my kids than I have? And when I think about this legislation that is before me and the different paths that I can take representing you, I keep that in mind. That is critical. Because that's what's going to help you and your family. That's what's going to help you and your family. That's what's going to help each and every one of us. And that will make us feel better when we put our heads on the pillow at night. To know that our country is stronger economically, that our kids and grandkids have a better opportunity. But it does start with a civil discourse and trying to move some of those public policy initiatives forward. Listen, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. This has been a great night.